The next component is cost. Remember, we're talking about the 4 ways for you to increase revenue. Now I'm going to talk about the cost for just a second. I want to talk about 4 things relative to cost. Number 1, can you just charge what you want to charge? No. There's 4 reasons why. Number 1, it's called the law of inverse diminishing returns. What the heck did he just say? The law of inverse diminishing returns. What does that mean economically? Here's what it means. When people buy something, they'll buy it, and as the cost goes up, as you go this way, the cost is going up, less and less people will buy it to some degree. There gets to be a point where significant amounts of people drop off. It's called the inverse law of diminishing returns. So, what does that mean? You can't keep just charging more and more and more. There's a certain point where people will just say, the heck would you? In other words, you think McDonald's knows this? They know exactly the number to charge for a hamburger. And they know when they go 1 penny over that, what it does to the amount of people that want that hamburger. It's called the law of inverse diminishing returns. So that's one reason you can't just charge what you want. Number 2, there's a thing called UCR. You guys know what UCR is? UCR. It's called usual, customary, and reasonable. And here's what it means. When you bill, you send in your, let's say you bill an insurance company for an exam, therapy, whatever. And you bill $50. Does that mean they're going to pay your $50? No. Here's what they do. You think they pay more? You think I've ever had an insurance pay 1 cent or more than what I billed in 12 years? Never. Never. They've never paid more. So, it's called UCR, usual, customary, and reasonable. And what happens is you bill $50 for the exam. The insurance company goes, wait a minute, you're charging $50. We only recognize $40, not $50. We say usual, customary, and reasonable is $40, not $50. And then the insurance policy pays 80%. So guess what they pay 80% on? And guess what happens to this difference right here? You eat it, or you can charge the customer, but guess what happens when you charge the customer for money they thought the insurance company should pay that didn't? They blame the insurance company or you? You. There's a way to do it, but you better be pretty strong in your practice before you try it. It's called UCR. That's what it's called. You can't just bill what you want. A lot of insurance companies won't even pay for 2 therapies. You bill 2, 3 therapies, it doesn't matter. They won't pay for it. They'll pay $40, $30, whatever, and 1 other therapy, and they'll only pay this therapy or that therapy. Even if you want to do this therapy, they won't pay for it. It's called UCR. What's the next component relative to cost? Cash practice. I gave the analogy today. Some people go, well, I'll just charge cash. I'm just going to do a cash practice. I told you what happened with the student that I talked about. The student goes, well, I'm going to have a cash practice. I'm just going to charge what I want. I go, okay. Well, let me ask you a question. If you have insurance, and I'm a provider that does not accept your insurance and makes you pay out of pocket, and this provider accepts your insurance, who are you going to? Now, the only way you'll come to me is if what exists? A very strong relationship. Very strong. That's the only way. The mass market's going to go to who? The person who accepts the insurance. Do you know what you're doing to yourself by not accepting insurance? Accepting insurance, and your office accepting insurance and billing, is standard. It's industry standard. It's like you buying a car and there not being a bumper on it. You're going, wait a minute, I bought the car. Everybody else puts a bumper on it. You should put a bumper on it. That's the standard now. So guess what the masses expect? That. So when you do try to make them pay out of their pocket, guess how much resistance you get? And guess where they go? Elsewhere. Because what would you do if you were in those shoes? Somebody accepted your insurance and you just had to pay your copay. versus somebody who didn't accept it at all and you had to pay cash. Who are you going to? That person or somebody over here who accepts it and you only have to pay their copay? Which one are you going to? You got it. And guess what the masses do? When you stop accepting insurance, your practice will drop 60% within 30 to 60 days. Because how many of you people want to pay cash when you go to the dentist? When you go, if you have insurance, what do you want that dentist to do? That's right. And what is the only amount that you want to pay? Copay. And when you try to do anything different, what's that called? It's called going against market forces. Good luck. Yeah.
Now, if you're newly practicing, you're not on all these insurance carriers, how do you go about doing that?
You got a problem. That's a possible problem. There's a thing called out-of-network benefits. Sometimes even if you're not on a policy, they have a thing, like if you're on the policy, maybe there's just a copay. But if you're not on the policy, there might be like a $200 or $250 deductible and a copay. So the only chance is really, to be honest with you, is if the insurance has out-of-network benefits. If they have an insurance policy, like an HMO, and it's for these doctors, guess where they go? You're out of luck. Now you have to try to convert a cash patient. You have to try to get this person to pay cash when they have insurance to pay for it over here with this provider. If that scenario was in your face, what would you do?
Or you mean if I was a patient?
You're the patient.
Yeah.
You have to pay me cash or use your insurance over here. What are you going to do?
I'll obviously go over there.
That's right. Yeah, if there's not out-of-network benefits possible and you can't get in, that's another problem. Yeah. And then CPT codes. When you bill your diagnostic codes and your treatment codes, your ICDA and your CPT codes, those are your diagnostic and treatment codes. You can't just bill whatever code you want. You can't look at this code and go, oh, I can get $80 for this code versus $60 for this code. I'm going to bill that code. You think that might happen in chiropractic? It's called insurance fraud. And there's 3 components with a CPT code that have to be fulfilled. One is a time with the patient. One is a cognitive component. Third one is level of complexity. So it is outlaid. If you do this code, you have to give this amount of information, time, level of complexity, with that code. If you don't, what's it called? Fraud. And when you put it in the mail, what's it called? Mail fraud. Now, guess what happens when you guys get market forces? A small percentage of people, they don't stay very long. Guess what you guys start doing to the bill? Padding it. You start padding it. You start doing this, doing that, adding to it. Why do you do that now? To pay your bills. To pay your bills. You're stressed now. You know how many times I've seen that in chiropractic? By the way, it's not just chiropractic. That's the #1 reason that people start padding their bills. They don't get enough business, so what do they do to try to compensate for revenue? Pad the bill. And now they start going into insurance fraud. So, those are some cost issues. Any questions about cost issues? You have to know these things. That's one of the components that's going to be making money. That's a financial department component. It's not sales and marketing. You have to know something about finances. What's the last one? Overhead. That's the 4th component. Okay? Remember there were 4 components on how you make money? We've now talked about 3. We've talked about getting new business and what will happen with market, what can happen, what you do, what they do. We've talked about sales, we've talked about marketing topically. We've talked about retention and how to change it versus what they want to do. We've talked about cost factors. Now we're talking about overhead. Guess who has to know every one of them? You. You are the president, CEO of your company. You have to know all of this. So the last one is overhead. What is the average for overhead? The national average, according to the ACA, is $11,400. According to Chiropractic Economics, that's a month. That's a month. Chiropractic Economics is a little over $14,000. The overhead is 50% according to the ACA, 70% according to chiropractic economics. That's the overhead. Those are the industry standards. That's the real world. It costs money to make money. So, what is the number of patient visits a week? 108 patient visits a week, national average. There's different types of overhead. There's not one reason for an overhead. There's 8 different types of overhead. I don't have time to go into each 8 different type of overhead. Here's what I will go into. What are the 3 main reasons for high overhead? I'll share those with you. What's the number one reason for a high overhead?